check out this offense, and the first question you got to ask yourself is, who do you want to take away? You're playing defense against this team, and I think the obvious answer is we have to stop Saquon Barkley. The problem with that is, if you want to go, particularly if you want to go single safety, obviously Jair is out now. You're trying to figure out if Stokes, which one is Stokes going to cut? How does this math work, right? First play of the game, you see some of this. Devontae Smith just, nights, just runs right by your corner. Like, the rest of the game, you got to sit there and start scratching your head. And this can happen early. And it can happen at any time. This guy's an absolute burner. The pocket that is created repeatedly, not only by the quality of their offensive line play, but with the threat of the run, the RPOs, all the pistol stuff they do, they have time to run a lot of stuff on schedule. But because of the athleticism of Jalen Hurts, because of the physicality of guys like A.J. Brown, guys like Dallas Goedert, they have the ability to run a ton of stuff off schedule as well. I mean, obviously, every team can do that in the National Football League now, but when you have a quarterback that's a 600-pound squatter that can run, that can throw the football as well as he can, you can really make a lot of hay with off-schedule plays. And this is something where, from a secondary standpoint in Green Bay, you're going to have to understand as hard as it's going to be with our lack of pass rush to get to the quarterback anyways, and they're going to have to make that decision early on. Like, are we going to have to bring pressure? If we do bring pressure, do we feel confident that they can beat the guys that are blocking them? And what does that do to our secondary? But if you do get him moving, even if you get him moving laterally, he can still make plays with his legs and obviously throwing the football. He's a little bit different than we talked about a couple of weeks ago with Sam Darnold, where if you take his chest to the sideline, you don't have as much success. You put his chest downfield, he can throw the ball anywhere. That's not the case here with Jalen Hurts. I feel very confident I think he feels very confident that he can throw the football running sideways. Certainly some of these guys can make plays on the football as well. And this is like, so they run a real basic in cut here at 5. Receiver gets kind of caught up on the inside, the slot route, and you don't see the safety in the middle of the field coming down to make a play because they're trying to double, and it's like, forget about it. You're not catching this guy. Just too fast. So have to have a plan. Have to understand in the secondary, what are we trying to take away? How are we going to use our linebackers? Do we want to force the ball downfield more and try to play deep safety with Xavier McKinney and just see, hey, if you're going to throw it up, we like our chances? Or do you want to try some of the catch and run stuff and try to keep them in front of you and try to make some tackles, in space? Now you're looking at just a lot of human right here across this offensive line. These are not small humans. Landon Dickerson's an absolute monster. Mekhi Becton, I think he came in at like 385 pounds. I don't know what he weighs now. I think he's lost some weight. But good God. Lane Johnson looks skinny right here. I think he's 325. You see the doubles. And this is the problem with Saquon. And Saquon and Josh Jacobs are very similar. Saquon's a higher rated guy, I think. Higher draft pick. And, certainly when you just look at his natural athleticism and explosiveness, they're off the charts. But, you're kind of looking in the mirror if you're a Green Bay Packers fan. All the stuff you love about Josh Jacobs, you're going to hate this week because this guy does the exact same stuff. The jump cuts, the vision, everything. Just, two really, really good football players at the running back position. But that should be a play. And it turns into a 20-yard gain. He's not afraid to lower his shoulder. Obviously, he's got the huge highlight this year of doing the backwards leap. We got the pull, and you see the jump cut running through. The kid is, it's going to be fun to watch and kind of compare these guys when you get to see them face to face. I know we played these guys earlier in the year, but you just feel like the identities of this team with new running backs are really crystallized now, obviously, going into the playoffs. This guy played behind Jason Kelce for years and now is a Pro Bowl in his own rights. And you see the two linebackers for Dallas looking at themselves, and they're having a communication about who's going. And I had to watch this 3-4 times because well, he knows. He knows which one's dropping because his footwork here, this is double A gap look. Now, whether they bail or not, for the viewer at home, we have no idea. They're going to motion in Barkley, and they're just going to run zone to the right with a little split flow action. You can see 81 where he's lined up. That's kind of a tell. Okay. But watch the footwork of 51. Like, he's not worried at all that guy's shooting the gap. He knows that he's bailing. And that level of football IQ, that's why Jeff Stoughton's one of the best offensive line, if not the best offensive line coach in the league right now. These guys they're playing chess, not checkers. And he's taking a route to where the guy's going to be, even though he's up in the A gap. And look at what the result of that is. 5 yards downfield, he finally locks up with him, gets through, and the guy can't get it on the play. Phenomenal job. We got two pullers here. You're pulling, the mountain, the rugby mountain, Jordan Mailata, phenomenal athlete, and obviously pulling the center again. We've seen this for years with Kelsey playing center position there. So we get the kick out and we got the lead up. Look at the lead up by 51, man. I mean, he just buries that linebacker. I mean, that is big time job. Barkley's got, again, you give talented guys that kind of offensive line, and you really got something there. These guys, I think I just circle them here. I mean, that's as good a group as you're going to find. And one of the big questions has to be, who's beating Lane Johnson? Who's beating Jordan Mailata? Who's beating Landon Dickerson? Like, where are you winning on this offensive line, given all the stuff that they run? Watch Micah Parsons over here against Jordan Mailata. I mean, athletic, and he's not even close. I mean, he wins both hands, the whole thing, but because of the set, I want to bring this up too. I don't want to digress too much, but I watched this, and it didn't really – I was watching the Malik Willis drop back last week, and you realize that these guys they employ kind of the same philosophy in pass pro. And we talked about it last year and this year with Green Bay, but the geometry of the pocket's changed, obviously, with the advent of or the proliferation of the shotgun. And it's turned much less into this cup idea into kind of maybe a little bit of a bent wall of defense. And these guys are all sitting square. And the time that it takes for these defensive ends and linebackers and defensive tackles, to get back to the quarterback if they're being blocked at all is so dramatic. Malik Willis's foot was hitting 12 yards last week. I mean, that's a crazy depth, and they're staying there. He's going from 12 to 11 or 11 to 11. He's not stepping back up to 9 unless he gets flushed, unless he has a reason to. And what that does on the outside is, and you can see it here with Micah Parsons, because Mailata and Lane Johnson do such a good job of staying square and kicking back, that the route that the defensive ends has to take just to get over the top or get to level is so high that if they ever do win and get over the top, the quarterback has so much room to step up because he's shotgun 5-step drop. Not here, but if he does shotgun 5-step drop, hits his foot at 11 or 12, and the guards and the centers aren't going to get beat back for 8, 9, 10 yards most of the time. So he's going to have all this built-in space. And so it's just really interesting to see, because not all teams are employing that philosophy. But you see here, it's so easy. I mean, Parsons is thinking like, man, I got something, but you're like 3-4 yards from home. And that's the way that a lot of these teams are employing their pass concept. So how do you win against a team that is great up front and so good at the running back position and obviously has a quarterback thing to do the job as well? It takes a full commitment. You see 10, I think this is 10 Dallas defenders on the screen in the box or around the box. This is what it takes. Close to the line of scrimmage, everybody downhill, got to win on the edges, got to force the cutback, got to force them to stop their feet in the backfield. If you can get them reverse direction, you're in even better shape. They run the split flow. And because we see eyeballs here, he's got to bounce out and not cut back. And it's almost like you're winning on the backside, and then you're just hoping that he decides not to make you look stupid. The exact same thing that we talk about with Josh Jacobs. It's not always going to be pretty, but unfortunately, this is kind of the look here. So Mailata, he's staring at the backside defensive tackle. We got kind of a wider 3 technique. He's going to take a bad first step. He's going to false step behind him. So this 3 technique ends up winning. And these are the kind of things you have to be able to see. If he's looking at you, follow the guard, try to win through the gap, make him cut back, and then the next guy's got to make the play. And that's really how you're going to have success against a team like this, because they're so good at the running back position. They're so good at offensive line. Their scheme is tried and tested, and they're going to run it 55% of the time. So this is going to be one of those games. I think on TV it might go fast. You're hoping that Green Bay wants to stick with their running game, and again, this is one of those games where if Jordan Love has less than 30 attempts, you feel really good about it. If he's got more than 35, 40 attempts, it's like game's probably not going how you want it to. Having said that, I could be, Coach LaFleur can just say to hell with it. We're going yard. But this is going to be a phenomenal game. I know it's a 4.5 point spread, and I think that's probably deserved. The Eagles are a really, really good football team, as are the Vikings, as are the Detroit Lions. The Packers have the talent and have the spark, and they have the belief, and they, most importantly, they have the offensive mind at the coordinator position, or the head coach position, where they can put some points up against this team, even though they're giving up only 278 yards a game and 17.8 points per game. I mean, as good as Philly's defense is, as if you watch the tape, you can see how a really good schematic offense with some really talented positional players and a great quarterback can put some points up. It's going to be a fun one. Guys, enjoy the weekend. Hit me up, MikeWall68, if you have any questions about this game, any game. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Process to Perform on Instagram. Please hit the subscribe button, rate and review us, and share this with your friends. Guys, thanks as always. Thanks to Bet Online, and we'll talk to you soon.